call you. One day, yeah. Everybody hurts sometimes. Everybody hurts someday. Yeah, yeah. Everything gon' be alright. Only the best will say. Yeah. Here's to the ones that we got. Here's to the wish you were here. Your life was a dream. Bring back all the memories of everything we've been through. Toast to the ones that we made. Toast to the ones that we lost on the way. For the dreams bring back all the memories. There's a time that I remember. So long, no follow the hatred. Used to go for a star. And my heart feel like an ember.
Okay. That's enough of that. I think it's working. Hey, y'all, can you hear us? Just say something in the chat. I'm still kind of trying to figure this out. And
yeah, I'm not sure if my mic is working.
I can hear you now.
Okay.
I can hear you nice and loud. But the question is can our people hear that? That's the important thing. So let us know, guys. Oh, yeah, Scott says yes. Finally a stream. Yeah, my bad, guys. I drove in from Austin, all the way from Austin back to Houston today. And then I was trying to make sure everybody in my family was fed. And, that's kind of important. How's the audio, guys? I'm trying out this new system, Amazon. Woohoo! Scotty the Fish Freak, verily, Cody, Scott, Skull, Bass Queen. Who else is here? 3G. Love you guys. Let's see here. Buddy Viper, of course. Buddy, I'm going to show you my my moss in a second. Marky, hey. Peplin Creek Aquatics. And if Father Fish is listening, we're filling in for him. And I'd like to present to you guys Paul. This is Paul. Paul, say hi.
Hi. And I see Scotty's from Lancaster County, who I spoke for before I moved here.
Oh, nice. So where are you at, Paul?
Florida.
Ah, sunny Florida. It's really the Texas wannabe. That's what I think of Florida. Florida wishes they were as cool as Texas, and they do a pretty good job of it, I will say. But Texas is Texas, man.
I think Florida's just swampier.
we got gators here too, but I have to say some of the gators that come out of Florida, man, they're big. They're really big. Okay, so Father Fish has to travel another 500 miles, and so he is not able to jump on the stream tonight. So, where he is right now, let's wish him well. We're all here for him. Safe driving. Don't use up all your gas, and stop by a few creeks along the way. See what life is out there in the beautiful, beautiful world we call the US of A. So I say that I'm actually from Canada, but I know I'm from Canada and I went to Texas. So big weather difference. But that's kind of where you're from, Paul. You're from what? Where are you from originally?
Well, Florida, technically, but I was living in New Jersey.
Okay. And then you found your way back south again?
Yes.
How long you been in Florida?
3 months.
3 months? Oh, so you're really new there.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So tell us a little bit about your background, Paul.
Veterinary assistant is what I went to school for. I've been a board member of North Jersey and Jersey Shore Aquarium Societies. Mainly just keep oddball fish, stuff like that, reptiles, house plants, things like that are other interests.
Okay. Reptiles and houseplants as well as fish?
Yep.
When you say fish, what kind of fish?
I try to keep weirder things.
Weirder
Mud
things.
mud skippers is what most people know me for.
Mud skippers.
Yeah.
What are those things? I must find out.
It's a goby-like fish that lives on land. They do not really spend much of their time in the water at all.
Oh my
So
God. I'm
it's a
just now
fish
looking at,
that lives on
yeah,
land.
that is some weird fish right there. I don't think I've heard it. Do they sell these things like normally, or do you have to like buy them from
Um,
somewhere?
Certain stores will carry the African mud skipper regularly, but the dwarf Indian mud skipper is definitely a lot harder to find. They are available, at least they were when I was working for Petco. They were on my list as something I could order.
Oh, really?
I tried to all the time, but I never got them.
Well, okay. So, I mean, there's
They
what you
had the
want.
SKU. They would give us a book of SKUs that we had access to, and that
Okay.
was there was a SKU for the African mud skipper and the Indian mud skipper.
Okay. So, Nana is wondering if it's brackish.
Yes. A
How do
lot
you,
of people will try to keep them in freshwater, but I always try to mimic my fish where they would live in nature. So they live in estuaries, so brackish is what I
would,
would do.
so, I mean, you could keep it in fresh water, but they're really happiest in brackish.
Sometimes with these fish, I found adding salt will prevent diseases and problems that will arise in captivity.
Uh-huh.
So adding a little bit of salt will keep certain bacterial levels down, fungal infections down on certain fish, if they're used to having salt in their water.
Okay. Okay, this is a really stupid question. So, I have the internet is full of information out there, and some of it is very confusing, especially if you're a new fish keeper. And I have read about salt for fish, and I've read that certain like salt isn't good for things that don't have scales. Like for some reason they say beta fish or beta fish. Sorry, guys.
Um, well, the reason is salt causes osmosis problems with the fish, so it will strain their kidneys and other organs for
Uh-huh.
prolonged periods because water wants to equalize between the body of the fish and its environment. So
Right.
if the concentration of salt is higher outside the body of the fish, it's going to pull water out of the fish
Oh,
versus the other way around where the concentration of salt is higher in the fish, then the water is going to go into it.
okay.
So it depends on what I'm doing, but I use salt as a medication, not normally as something I just stick in the water all the time.
Yeah. So I've cured a beta before with using salt. Okay. So what it was actually the first fish I got. My daughter wanted a glowfish. I don't like. I'm sorry for people who are out there. Glowfish are pretty, but I'm more of a natural type of person. But when your 13 or 12-year-old at the time, who is very sick, tells you that she wants a glowfish tank, you go out and you get a glowfish tank. And that includes a betta, that's a glowfish. And this Casper, because he looked like a yellow ghost, this Casper got sick right away because we got him from, I can't remember if it was Petco or PetSmart, but we bring him home right away. And he gets sick. And I don't know, maybe obviously it was our first fish, new fish keepers. And I'm trying to figure out everything to cure this fish, everything. And so I've probably spent I spent hundreds of dollars on different fish products.
Mm-hmm.
And what ended up curing, and none of it worked. Like he's getting sicker. I'm quarantining him. I mean, he's just, I could go into the different symptoms that he had, but let me put it this way. I was seriously considering having to euthanize him while my daughter was at school so that she wouldn't see this thing die because he was just that far gone and no amount of medication. I tried everything because, at this point I'm just throwing stuff against the wall to see what fits. I come across this blog that suggests doing a salt dip with aquarium salt. Now there's also Epsom salt and then there was aquarium salt. Now I got into, and I was like, at this point it was a Hail Mary. So I know, right? So I ended up doing like we call a salt dip. So I put them in a high concentration of aquarium salt. I used aquarium salt for a short amount of time, and then I put him into a lesser concentration, so that way he wouldn't shock it back to fresh water.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't, and it worked. Like
Yeah.
it worked. And then of course people tell me, "Oh no, you should never do that." But this fish is happy. He's swimming to this day.
So I find it just depends. If you have bacterial infections, the problem is not all antibiotics work equally. There's gram negative and positive. So you have to know which
Yeah,
antibiotic goes to which bacteria.
I researched all of that.
Yeah.
I was like vet tech level, gram negative, gram positive. Oh my God.
So I just use salt because for a lot of bacteria that are used to living in fresh water, adding salt to the water will kill it, or at least prevent growth enough that then the immune system can take over.
Yeah. This is go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, the aquarium salt works. And like a lot of people said, don't use table salt, but Epsom salt is more going to be used for your African cichlids because that's magnesium usually and stuff. So that's going to not be sodium chloride.
Actually, I used it later on to help him with a bit of a swim bladder problem. I guess he was constipated. This fish was messed up everywhere.
And then you have like your marine salt too, which is then full of all bunch of trace elements, minerals to mimic seawater. So it's a little different.
All right, so I'm digging back here. This is what I call the cabinet that I really need to clean out because I never use any of it anymore. But like, look, erythromycin, General Cure, Paragard. Actually, like I've got this. I went all out for this fish. I went completely all out. Oh my God. Here, Cataplex. Even like, let's see here, Primafix, Melafix. I mean, I got methylene blue. I got this. Oh man, this person at Petco, they were like, "Oh, try this microbe lift Artemis."
It doesn't work very well. I found on most things I tried it on.
Yes.
That's what they gave us to use in store there.
Yeah, it did nothing. It did X, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I could. Oh, look, I found more Paracleanse. I mean, I don't even know what to do with this stuff anymore. I don't. And there's like processed foods back here. I don't even know what to do with. I kind of just like it. Yeah, it's kind of like the useless storage area.
I worked for a fish store, and we would treat things as needed, and also all the time. But for external, we used to use what was that? Potassium permanganate.
Okay.
And it essentially like burns off everything on the outside of the fish.
Potassium permanganate. Can't talk. Yeah, used to play with that in chemistry labs.
Yeah, so we were using that.
I think I used it to set fire on things. That's kind of scary.
Yeah, and then we also had like oxytetracycline, all that kind of stuff, Prazi, to use. But Prazi, I would usually just take the powdered form, mix it with some food, and feed it directly with a drop of vodka because it doesn't dissolve well.
Wait a minute, vodka?
Yeah, just a drop.
You fed the fish vodka?
Well, like a single drop into like a bowl of the medicine just to make it dissolve into the food. Because with water, it doesn't want to dissolve sometimes. Right.
No, I totally understand, but I think it's great that we use vodka. I mean, I bet the fish got, felt no pain after that. Yes, T-bones, fishies. Yes, you're just wasting your money on fish medications. Let me be clear. That little crowd of fish medications is what happens when you're a completely new fish owner and then you take home a beta from the store and then it doesn't do well, and so you go back to the store, and then the Petco or PetSmart employee is is not Paul. And or Gina Reef. Apparently, she used to run stores like that. Yeah, at that point, you're just trying to save a fish that your daughter's already been like emotionally attached to.
I mean, there is a place for medications. It's just that usually most things can be prevented or treated with just doing more water changes.
Well, I think in this case, I had the I first of all, this glow betas betas, they're not in the best. I don't know. I've read that they're not from a very strong gene pool. They're already, genetically very weak.
Yeah, I've seen some at stores that definitely were more deformed looking than the standards.
That's just a glow. So, and I know that Father Fish has a wonderful friend who was part of the group that initially created the glow Danios, but then he apparently he didn't. He was only part of the initial glow Daniel process. All the fish after that he was not a part of. And I know the beta came in way after a lot of all these other glow fish were on the market. So whoever pulled that off apparently needs a little. I don't know. I don't want to be critical of it, but in any case, this beta, I'm pretty sure when we got this beta, with the temperature was lower than it should be, and he already was stressed out. And so I think he caught like some sort of infection.
Possibly. I mean, the stores are usually kept a little lower than optimum. I mean, my store wasn't because our air conditioner broke, but.
Where was it? In Florida or New Jersey?
New Jersey.
Okay. All right. No offense, man, but like. I don't know. I mean, how hot is it in New Jersey? Is anybody on the northeast area or even the north area of the U.S.? Is it hot up there? Because it's over 104 degrees here. So
my friend said it's hot, but not as bad as here.
Yeah, and I think there's a few folks are from Arizona, Nevada area, and it is. Ooh. All right, we're gonna stop sharing the screen. Yes. Hi. Let's see here. I'm reading some of the chat. Yes. Hey, everybody knows when you're trying to save a fish and, it's your daughter's or your kid's fish. And I mean, we all get it. We all, yeah, the store, yes, Craig, the store saw me coming. Yes, they did. I just basically walked in and was like, hi, I don't know what I'm doing. Tell me what I should buy. $500 later. I know, seriously, I probably spent over $200 worth of medications that are probably I'm never going to use ever.
Yeah, because each of those boxes is usually about $15 to $25, so it adds up fast.
Yes, and then apparently eventually they do expire, just like fish food. Like processed fish food also expires. So
processed foods I keep in the freezer.
Right.
To extend.
Yeah. I have frozen. I do what I can to avoid processed foods, but that's personal choice. That's a personal choice. And I get it because sometimes, but you always have to have backup food.
Yep.
You do.
Scotty, I just saw us asked if I come to YouTube often. No. This is first.
I dragged him here. We were chatting the other night because we were trying to figure out how to do live stream because we knew that Father Fish was going to be on the road and we had to have backup plans. And Father Fish knows Paul from the Venice Club.
Yep.
Yeah.
And now I'm their tech person.
Yes. And so while we were trying to figure stuff out, I got Paul talking and he told me that he used to work for Petco and PetSmart back in the day. Pet supermarket. Okay. And I'm really fascinated by that. And, I was Gina if Gina's out there, if anybody knows how to get a hold of Gina, I'd love to bring her up too, because I really want to, pick their brains. And for a couple of reasons. One is Petco and PetSmart and those big box stores, they get a bad rap. They do. Obviously for good reason, but I know that there's good people who work there. And off and very much make a difference because, when somebody wants to adopt a fish, they don't go to a local fish store generally. They go to those big box stores.
Yep. And it's where people start a lot
Yeah.
of times. I mean, I would say most of the people I talk to were either just starting a tank or were having issues with their tanks.
Mhm.
And within my district, I found if you find a good store, it's because it's well, for Petco at least, the aquatic specialist they hired actually knows what they're doing, and that the store manager and the animal care manager both are very confident in who they're hiring and what they're doing. District wise, that doesn't usually matter. Their district manager, that's a different story.
Okay.
But if you find a store manager at least and a good aquatic specialist, the store usually you'll notice will have a better selection of fish than your typical. But that also goes with how much they sell. So
Okay.
the stores have their selection open by how high volume they are. So my store was not considered a high volume store. So when I needed certain fish, I used to have to call other stores and drive there and go get it. And
Oh,
then bring it back.
you would actually go and drive and pick up fish.
Not only fish, but like product generally. Like,
okay.
If another store called us and said, "Hey, we need a dog crate," if one of us lived near that store, we would sometimes just bring it on our way home.
Okay.
So,
okay. I was going to say, it sounds like you would go up above and beyond, or.
Oh yeah, I drove from, if anyone knows New Jersey, Clark, New Jersey, to Totowa, New Jersey, to pick up some celestial pearl danios. And that is a fun drive.
I bet. Well, I have no idea. I mean, all I know is Houston traffic, and let me tell you, these people do not know how to drive, myself included, by the way.
I had to go past New York City and Newark, New Jersey. So all that fun traffic.
Say no more. Oh, dear Lord. Well, but I bet you've seen some stories.
Yeah, there's tons of fun ones that came from customers usually calling the store.
Customers calling the store.
Yeah. With fun questions and stupid prank calls all the time.
Prank calls? Oh, they're trolling you.
Yeah, my favorite one was I bought bird seed and planted it and I didn't get my bird.
Are you serious?
Yeah. So we used to mess with the people back.
How did you mess back? I mean, how do you respond to that?
I just told them they planted it at the wrong time of the year. I told them if you plant it in the winter, you'll get a cockatiel. If you plant it in the spring, you'll get a parakeet. And
he said that and they hung
up. Yeah.
Yeah, because I guess they weren't getting the exact reaction they wanted.
No.
But I bet it made your day.
I mean, sometimes it depended on how busy we were.
Okay. I can see that.
You know, 12 people at the register and wait in, and then you have a prank call you have to deal with.
Okay. All right. I get it. It's, I'd be terrible to work there. I would just be like chill and hanging out and be like, oh, yeah, we'll have 35 people in line and I'll still be talking to the one person and, getting to know all of their animals and their individual stories while we've got, by that time, 60 people looking, making hate-filled eyes at us.
Well, I used to tell those people if they came back later in the day or during the week would be a better time than, so Sunday afternoon when we had the vaccinations going on and we had 50, 60 people in the store.
Oh, okay. I can see that being difficult to
balance. Out the door,
of
customers and grooming and everything else being crazy. I'm like, I'm not gonna have to want to keep an hour-long conversation with someone at that point.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, I mean, I had a good relationship with my people at Petco. They were pretty chill. And it got to the point where I was like, hey, I really want to keep talking to you, but these people behind me look really mad. So Well, hey, tell you what, I'll come back in about 30 minutes and we'll keep this conversation going.
I mean, I also had the one someone called to ask if we had goldfish, and she kept trying to make sure it wasn't the crackers.
What?
Like,
Oh, the goldfish crackers?
yeah.
No.
She's like, "Do you
Really?
guys sell goldfish?" I'm like, "Yes." Well, actually, she started. Can I talk to someone who runs the fish department? I said they were. They asked if we had goldfish. I said yes. And then the next one was, I mean, live ones, not the crackers. And I'm like, yes.
Did she think you were like a grocery store or something? Or
Well,
like a grocery store that had a pet department like Walmart back in the day?
I told her, like, if you want the crackers, Target's next door. I mean, my store is right next to a Target, so I was like,
Oh, man, that's like right up my alley. Like, I'll go to, well, I don't know. I mean, Petco, PetSmart, they'll, I go to Target. I don't go to Walmart. Sorry. I'm upper middle class white woman snob. My bad. That likes organic, hence why we do the deep substrate. We do the live foods. So yeah. Oh my God. I'm really I'm really California. No, not me. We've got. Let's go back to the chat. T-Bones, who says he will not buy fish from his local fish store anymore because he can't find a fish that doesn't last very long. So he's found a reputable online fish supplier.
so
And yeah,
that was like one thing I found with my store. I had minimal deaths, minimal loss. I only ever had one outbreak of a disease, and that was because someone dropped a fish off to the store when I wasn't there, and someone stuck a full-grown Oscar in one of my tanks, and it was covered in fish lice.
Oh,
So
what did you do?
I brought it home and sat there and picked them off one by one.
Really?
Yeah, just got a pair of tweezers and sat there.
And just pick lice off of an Oscar one by one. And what did you do with him? Is he still your baby?
Oh no, I just like took it home, did that, made sure it was done with the lice, and then I just brought it to a fish club meeting.
Oh,
because I don't keep big cichlids.
Oh, you don't? What do you keep? Actually, you know what? We should get into that.
I mean, before I moved and stuff, I was keeping mainly wild type live bearers and wild type versions of things. Dwarf cichlids, Tanikan cichlids that on the smaller side, West African, stuff like that. Nothing that got bigger than like 4 or 5 inches.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, the oddball stuff. So knife fish, gobies, flounders, things like that.
Okay.
Reef tanks, a lot of coral, a lot of saltwater.
Okay. You told me in our conversation that you used to culture and sell corals.
Yeah. So when you have a reef tank, corals will continue to grow and start budding into other corals.
No idea what that's like on the freshwater side at all.
Except unlike plants, corals will kill each other.
No, I mean, actually, I should show you before and after pictures.
So the corals will essentially eat each other and kill each other off. So 2 different coral species that touch each other, one will die, one will live.
Wait, hold on. But what about the great coral? I'm sorry. Wonderful fish people. I am 100% ignorant about anything saltwater, except I know that blue tangs need a lot of space to swim. Yep. And that clownfish really, really hate the fact that Finding Nemo came out. So
it was good and bad. I mean, bad because so many died because of it, but good because they did get aquaculture down from it.
Okay, all right, but let's go back to the saltwater, the coral, because I thought, wait a minute, if a coral touches each other, one kills the other, how can we have great coral reefs then?
So the other coral that killed the other one will then grow on top of the one it just killed. So then they just keep building up on top of each other. Some have what they call sweeper tentacles, which are up to 7 inches long, and they just at night sweep around the whole coral, stinging everything in its path. So other corals will just get stung, die if they're not immune to it. And
That's
then that
terrible.
coral will grow and take over that space. And this is how reefs are formed. Corals just keep building
Corals
up
just
on
keep
each other
killing each other.
and building up on each other.
That I don't know. That sounds so sci-fi.
It's like at night. So if you look at your reef tank at night, you'll see sweeper tentacles out feeding, but also that prevents other corals. So
so they have a defense mechanism as well as this is like Battleship.
Yeah, a coral reef is essentially just on a micro scale, a giant battlefield with all the animals constantly fighting for space and room and everything.
Okay, so I can see why, in order to preserve your corals, you had to
trim them,
trim them essentially, and then sell them. But like that's quite a business. I mean, you can make bank if you know what you're doing.
Yeah. I mean, if you go with higher end corals, I mean, wholesale on them, you can easily get a couple $100 for a frag.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then some pieces are a couple $100 per polyp.
Okay. So you can get more than Okay.
Like, some of the zoanthids, depending on the pattern, they price them per individual polyp of coral.
Okay.
So not as the whole colony, but each animal in the colony.
Okay, you're gonna have to explain this animal in the colony.
So a single coral polyp looks like a sea anemone.
Okay.
And when multiple of those are together, they make a colony. So on a frag plug, there might be 3 or 4 polyps.
Okay.
So if it's $100 a polyp, that's a $300 to $400 piece of coral that is like smaller than a dime.
Okay.
So it adds up fast. If you get more expensive corals, you can propagate them if you are good at it, and very quickly sometimes trade stuff back to stores and get credit.
Okay.
Or trade for other things.
All right, so it's basically the corals is like the plant, well, a little bit more, but yes, T-Bones, the Great Barrier Reef is dying, and I hate that. And actually, now I read somewhere that we've got the corals out in Florida were dying, but because of concerned environmentalists, aka fish hobbyists, they've developed technology which has been able to actually start taking back and preserving some of these coral reefs. At least in Florida, I'm sure they're trying to do something similar, but it's difficult with all the pollution out there.
So with corals, for the U.S., it was a disease. They're not sure yet really what it is that's causing it.
Yeah.
So they took samples of these corals and sent them to aquariums across the country as essentially like an ARC program. So they have the corals in captivity in super sterile conditions. So if we do lose them on the reef, we can always frag them in captivity and then put them back. Now, the aquariums that own these, or not own them, but have them, do not own them. The state of Florida owns them.
Oh.
So one of the aquariums back where I used to live, Jenkinson's, is one of the aquariums in the program. So when I visited, there is a line on the floor that you are not allowed to cross for contamination reasons.
Oh, so they're good. I mean, that's a good thing.
So I could see the corals from a distance, but I wasn't allowed to get within that perimeter.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can't say I blame them.
No, because corals are super sensitive, and they even if anyone has a reef tank, like one little bit of algae can wipe out a whole colony instantly. So with corals, like temperature stresses them, pH, acidity, pollution, nutrients, and it's all because of the algae that lives inside them. The algae makes the food for the coral, and if that algae goes into overdrive, it will kill the coral.
Okay.
So the coral releases the algae to prevent it from getting killed by the symbiotic relationship. But when it does that, it can no longer feed. so it eventually starves. But if their conditions go back,
Mhm.
they'll reabsorb the algae and recover. But if it goes too long, they just die.
Gotcha. All
And
right.
that
So
algae gives the
timing,
color.
yeah, timing is everything. Oh, it's okay. So that's how you get different colored algae then.
Well, you get the colors of the coral from the algae, which is why when they release it, they bleach because there's no color left.
Yeah.
You just see the calcium carbonate skeleton that's left behind.
Okay. Like, oh wait, sorry. I don't know who said that they used to raise bearded dragons. Here's my baby. My scaly baby. It's getting close to her bedtime, but yeah, because somebody said they used to breed bearded dragons. Is that T-Bones again? I keep calling that guy out. He's got some, yeah, he's got some interesting, yeah. So T-Bone Fishies, 10 years. All right, this is a PetSmart baby. I bought her like a month into COVID, and yeah,
So
learned how to do a lot of that.
I think it's funny. I see T-Bone's Fisheries says, Australia being surrounded by ocean, it's hard to get Australian fish. Australia's just been very strict about exporting any of its animals. But here in the US, when I had access to wholesale, we actually had a lot of access to Australian corals. And those went for a lot more money than anything else.
I bet they were popular too.
Yeah, they sell very fast. The same piece of coral, essentially a hammer coral, that isn't Australian would be like $30 a frag. An Australian one could be as high as 200.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the Red Sea. Red Sea fish always go for more than everywhere else.
So you say you like oddball fish? So freshwater. What's your favorite? I don't count mud skipper. It's brackish.
I mean, one of the more interesting, but it was a pain in the ass fish was the glass knife I had. It just wouldn't eat anything but live blackworms.
No, like it didn't want any other live foods. It was live blackworms.
Blackworms only.
Oh man, that's a picky eater. That sounds like my stepson. He only eats Chick-fil-A chicken.
And
can you imagine? Can you imagine trying to feed a kid Chick-fil-A chicken on a Sunday?
Yeah, and it was a community tank, so everything was eating the blackworms.
Gotcha. So how did you overcome that?
Thankfully, at the fish club, I could buy a pound of blackworms at the time for $8 a pound.
Oh, yeah, that's something. And I mentioned that last week. There was when I started getting into live foods, I had difficulty. Well, people at the local. Okay, so PetSmart, and then I do a bunch of research. It basically in the 8 months that I've been doing this, I did eventually find my way to a local fish store, and that's where they offered me live blackworms, and I was like, oh, that's cool. But then the second time I went back, they said, nope, we're out. We don't know where we're going to get any, and I was
hard to come by.
Right, and so I was like, okay, so I waited till they had some again, and then because I started doing a bunch of research on the internet, which it's very difficult to I really have to take okay, well, I'm going to try it and see. So when I decide to do something, I try it out in 3 or 4 different ways.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I did was I got as much blackworms as I could, and then I put them in 3 or 4 different containers. Oh, hey, Gina. How do we, hey, Paul, do you know how to put the StreamYard link up on there?
Yes. I think that was...
Yeah, if you...
Now it's gone. There was a share button. I don't see it now.
On your share?
Well, no, it was a share for the link.
Okay.
Which that button now is gone.
Oh, I want to get StreamYard link back up, because if Gina wants to come on and talk about PetSmart and Petco, I'd love to pick her brain too.
I was gonna say, if you have her contact, you could probably just text her the address bar on the top. That should take her right to this.
The address bar. Oh, dude, come on. I'm doing good.
That's the
Uh,
like the www dot
oh,
part, like that. If you just take that, you can send that to her.
I figured it out. Okay. I figured it out. I figured it
So
out, I
someone
think.
asked how long a pound of blackworms would last. That really depended on what I was doing.
Yeah, I know,
Um,
right?
if I was breeding like Cory catfish, a pound would last maybe a month, if that. Because Corys and stuff, like trying to get them to breed, I was putting like a good large pinch into each tank once or twice a day.
Did you find that sometimes the blackworms got away and they sort of like managed to sort of colonize just a little
Not
bit?
really, because most of those tanks I was using were bare bottom. So it just had a sponge filter. So there's really no place to hide or live
Now,
in.
I have seen blackworms in sponge filters.
The catfish got them out very fast.
Oh, I'm sure they did with those little barbels.
Yeah, I mean, Synodontists and Corys and all of those will just suck them right out of the sponge. But it just really depended on what I was feeding and what I had and what I was trying to breed. Because for Corys, I found it was the easiest way. Feeding them blackworms all the time was getting them just to breed.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, live food. I've read that live food just throws fish into that. I know some fish it's a little bit require a little bit more, but if you just in general live food just gets them into the breeding mood all the time.
And a temperature water change too with Corys. Drop the water the day before a storm, and then when it actually starts to rain, dump in colder water.
Oh, like even if it's okay, so you have your aquarium inside,
Yeah,
and but you still follow the weather conditions outside.
yeah, because the barometric pressure will still go through your house, and they'll feel that.
Oh, snap. Well, I ended up I used to keep pygmy corridoras,
Okay.
but I traded them for some plants. So I'll have to come. I'll get them again.
At least they're easy usually to get.
Yeah, no, they're so cute. I've never kept. I think the next Corys I get will be panda Corys because I think they're so
Okay.
pretty. Yeah,
I need to set up more tanks, but my
yeah.
friend has the green laser Corys.
Are those fun? Oh, hold on. I'm adding. Hi, Gina.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. Sorry.
Hey.
Excuse me.
Hey, Gina, meet Paul. Paul used to work at Petco and
Yeah.
PetSmart, not
Pet Supermart.
Pet
Yeah.
Supermart. And Gina used to manage. Yes, Jeff, I will trade my kids for plants. I have threatened it time and time again. And there's been times where they weren't quite sure if I was serious or not.
That's what houseplants are good for, because the houseplant people will spend a lot of money sometimes on some of these plants, and then I can use that to buy more fish.
Right, exactly. Okay. Hey, so I'm glad you were able to make it. How are you doing this Friday?
I'm doing good. I actually just got home. We had 12 boxes of fish, so it took all day to put it all away. So yeah.
Oh, wow.
Petco, PetSmart, Pet Supermarket. Where?
LFS. Yep.
Where?
I used to work at Petco for 7 years, and then now I work at an elephant.
Okay.
What's an elephant?
Yep. LFS, so local fish store.
Yeah.
Oh, LFS, local LFS. I'm sorry, I'm still learning the lingo. My apologies.
No,
yeah.
You're okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Yep. Putting fish away is fun.
Do you want to shamelessly plug your LFS?
Yeah, it's called Marine Solutions. If you actually go to Fishy Business Channel, we did a tour, and that's actually kind of where I was offered my job. So.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool. Okay. So I am so glad you came up on here. And Paul used to work at those large pet stores, and you obviously used to manage them. And I really want to pick y'all's brain when it comes to that. And what I was saying earlier in the stream is this is the large box pet stores is really where people go to start. Yep. Whether we like it or not. I mean, I went to a large box pet store when I was looking at getting set up, and they took me for, I spent a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you guys
Numbers.
used to run it. Yeah. And you've also seen, and probably you've seen the worst and you've seen the best. And I'd
Yes.
love to be able to kind of like you guys to share some of your experiences with that.
Yeah, no problem.
So so how many years did you work at Petco or PetSmart? You said you worked at both, correct?
No, Petco. I
Just
worked at
Petco,
Petco
okay.
for 7. Yeah, I worked at Petco for 7 years.
Mm-hmm. Tell me, what was your favorite fish or animal that you used to order from there?
Oh gosh. I was in charge of all the ordering of all the animals.
What was your
Probably
position?
sorted. So I actually went through like all positions up to.
Okay.
I wasn't technically a store leader, but my last store was notorious for not being able to keep a store leader for more than 2 years. So while we were in between store managers, I ran the store. So I was like an unofficial store manager. I did
So
all the
you
tasks,
were
but
aquatics specialist was your official title?
I started as a cashier
Okay.
7 years ago for about a year and a half, and then I became aquatic specialist, and then I became companion animal manager. And I actually
Okay.
that's when I transferred stores. So I actually went through 3 stores in my 7 years of Petco. My home store I transferred out of to become a companion animal manager, or CAL for short. And then I was there for about 8 months. That store manager and I just didn't work well together, and I don't like conflict, so we just talked it out, and we decided the best thing to do would probably just transfer to another store. And so I transferred to my last store, which is actually 5 minutes down from my house. I was companion animal manager there for about another year and a half, 2 years, and then I became inventory manager.
Okay.
And then I went from inventory manager. My home life was being put on the back burner. Work was coming first, and I couldn't do it anymore. So I actually stepped back down to aquatic specialist.
Okay.
I got out of it. But and yeah, that time, like at my last store next to my house, that's the store that I had to run the store a couple times.
Yeah, I would say my store, we went through people sometimes very fast. Turnover was high. I mean, I was a associate at the time. I mean, now it's partner or something for like 2 weeks. And then they put me into aquatics because they needed the person from the aquatics to go to grooming. She wanted to be a groomer. Yeah. So
the groomers make a lot more money than the floor staff. So I can see that.
I was working as a groomer too. So I am familiar with grooming prices.
So back to the original question. What was your favorite animal you got to? Yeah. No, it's great. I want everybody to hear. Yeah.
Anything like assorted, and mostly in the reptiles, so like assorted tarantulas or assorted Pac-Man frogs, because then you never knew what you got, and then sometimes you would get something special, and it was always like Christmas. So
yeah, I found a reticulated hillstream loach at a Petco once. I felt like I won the lottery. Wow. Yeah, I got 4 of them.
That does happen. I know one time at my original store, we ordered. All the angels usually come in assorted, and somebody got like a lace angel for the price of like an assorted angel, and they were super excited about it. I remember that.
Yeah, every once in a while you
can
get
some good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I ordered weird stuff every week, so other stores would come in and they would ask me why I ordered it, but then I would see it in their store like a month later. But I ordered a bunch of humphead glassfish.
Oh, I haven't had those yet
before. They were expensive. I mean, no one's gonna come into a Petco, I think, and spend almost $40 on a humphead glassfish. But I thought it was just something.
Was yours a magnet store?
Nope. We
Not
were
a magnet? Okay.
Practically bottom of the district.
Oh, really? So like your order level, what was it? It was like A level or B level?
I started at like just above what is it called? The Petco, like where they only sell dry goods. The one just above that. When I
Yeah,
left,
I think that's A. Yeah.
when I left, I was almost to magnet status.
Oh, nice.
Almost, but not quite.
I think I was like
Hard.
1,000 short for the year.
Yeah, it's hard to get those
Um,
sales up to be able to get the magnet.
yeah,
The Petco employees told me last winter that I was their biggest spender and brought them up various statuses. I didn't know. Look, I was in a different position financially then, and really stupid about this. And now I'm, so much better at it, but I'm spending less money, like significantly less money. So, I guess you learn how to be smart about it.
that's what fish clubs are good
Right.
for.
I wish Houston had one, like a decent one. I know Zen Ginger somewhere. She is located in Houston. I'd love to know who she actually is because, I mean, the Houston doesn't have one. They don't meet in person.
That is shocking.
Well, COVID really destroyed a lot of things, and
But I mean,
people had
you're a
lost.
city, though. Like,
Look, I don't know what to tell you.
I mean, I get it
I
because
already got in trouble asking questions, so I just leave that one alone.
New Jersey years ago did have like 15 clubs, but now it's down to like 6.
So T-Bone actually had a question for me. He said, "Is that how I got into fish?" Yes, working at Petco is how I got into fish. I knew nothing about fish before I started working at Petco.
Tell me about that journey, Gina.
So I started working at Petco. I only really knew about like birds and dogs and cats, because that's what I had growing up. The aquatic specialist at the time was kind of, I could tell he was like on his way out, like he was finding other jobs and stuff to go to. So I was like, sure, I'll take aquatic specialist. And that store was freshwater only. Didn't have saltwater. So I started researching every day. I would go on Live Aquaria, pick 3 fish in one category. So like tetras, I would pick 3 tetras and learn about those 3 tetras that night. And then the next night, another 3, and then another 3, and watch YouTube videos of how to set up and all that stuff, and just did my own research.
I understand watching YouTube videos and staying up late and thousands of hours. So yeah, you really turned into a fish nerd.
I did. Actually, the first pet we had in this house was I set up my 55-gallon fish tank, and that was my first fish tank.
Awesome. Yeah, that was actually my first. So I don't count my daughter's betta glowfish tank. That I decided that once I got that set up for her, and that's a whole other drama we talked about earlier in the stream. But my first fish tank, that was mine, was a 55-gallon, and that was my first planted tank and all of that.
Yep. So yeah.
Sorry. I promised Bunny Viper I'd show her the Christmas moss I'm going to send her. So if you do not mind, I'm going to figure out how I can do that.
So
because
I was seeing, or how you were saying about learning through Live Aquaria and stuff. I mean, I was trying to get a book off the shelf. I've been using stuff like this a lot too.
Okay.
This is actually a really good book. I bought this way before I moved here, but it's good to see where these things come from sometimes too. And I was already part of an aquarium society for a few years before I even started at Petco. Actually, one of the board members helped me get hired.
Nice.
Different store, same district. So I kind of went in already having fish knowledge, and my coworkers thought I was crazy because like within the first week of me being there, they asked me what I did on my day off, and I was like, I went and bought a 250-gallon acrylic tank. And they're like, what are you doing with a 250-gallon acrylic? I'm like, I don't know. I just bought it because it was $200.
Yeah, why not? Yeah, it's cheap. Why not?
From a pet store that closed. So I was like, I'll just buy it.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
So
that's a good deal.
Yeah, and
how long were you at Petco?
Only like a year and a half, because I just, between what was going on at home and the craziness of my district, I was like, I'm done, and I left.
Yeah.
My district was not friendly.
Oh,
I
really?
mean, yeah, we had other stores like picking on our store even.
Aw.
Like I just went to another store in our district that was like down the street from my house. I
Mhm.
worked, so my drive to work was 45 minutes to an hour, but there was a Petco literally I could walk to from my house. But
Yeah.
I went there just to get 2 rolls of receipt paper, and they were not wanting to give it up. They had 6 boxes of it in their storage room. I needed 2 rolls, not even a box. Yeah.
Holy crap!
And their
For
response
that.
was, your store doesn't do enough in sales. Why do you need this?
Excuse me?
Yeah, so that's kind of like what kind of I had to deal with on a daily
Oh my,
basis, and I was like, I'm done.
oh my god.
So, can you
How-
hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. If Bunny Viver is out there, then I want her to see that this is the Christmas moss in my 75 that has grown out of control. And so I'm going to need to trim it, and I'll send it to her probably on Monday. So there you go,
Aw.
Bunny. You're welcome. And there's Peacock. And yes, there's rummy noses in this tank, as well as, God, I don't even know what's in here anymore. I just put stuff in
Nice.
here and it just thrives. So anyways, we're done with that. That's just for Bunny. So you guys keep talking.
No problem. So, how long were you at Petco?
Like a year and a half.
Oh,
Not
okay.
that long.
Hey, Craig.
And it was really bad when I did resign because that day, not to my knowledge, 3 of us did in one day.
Oh, geez. That was a bad day.
Yeah. One person came in first thing in the morning, someone mid-afternoon, and me late afternoon.
Gotcha.
And my store manager just looked at me like, please don't tell me you're doing what everyone else did. And
Yeah.
none of us told each other we were doing this.
Huh.
It just coincidence that we all were sick of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, my store just went into chaos, and I was like, I'm done.
What, if you don't mind saying, what state do you live in?
I live in Florida, but I was in New Jersey working for them.
Or New Jersey? Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, totally different territory from me.
It like when I started
I'm in
like when I started working, it was fine. Everything was good. And then it just kind of fell apart.
Yeah.
They transferred
So
one of our
finally,
managers.
questioning the policies.
Well, one of our managers got transferred.
Mhm.
And I think him and our assistant store manager and our store manager got along great. And when they took our assistant store manager out of the equation and replaced them with someone else, it just threw our store into chaos.
Yeah.
I mean, I caught the one new manager sleeping
Ouch.
Oh,
So
at the register.
I want to come back to new people coming into the store, and I'd love to hear some of your experiences. And I'm sure some of these folks have come in with like different attitudes, but at the end of the day, they're all there to either essentially set up a new tank. Like I want to focus on those. So, like, what kind of folks were they, and how were you able to work with them?
so I would say that there's 2 different types of people. There's the people who actually see the fish as animals, and then people who see the tank as furniture.
Oh,
Would you agree?
what about?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, what about both?
I mean,
No,
I did
it's never
maintenance, aquarium
It's
maintenance,
never both?
and same idea. It was either people, I want a tank because I like the fish, but I don't want to take care of it, or I
Yeah.
just want something pretty in my house as a status symbol.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's my main one. I have like 10. I've lost count how many in the back.
But I mean, like when you have like multi-million-dollar
Okay.
homes with tanks that like I had to climb into to clean, like those people usually didn't know much about the fish or really cared. It was
Okay.
just, I want the most expensive, prettiest fish you can get me.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean,
And I'm like, I guess.
Yeah.
So,
But no, yeah.
okay.
So people like would say, "Oh, I want a small tank," and then they see an Oscar and they're like, "Oh, that's pretty," and I'm like, "You can't put it in
Mhm.
your size." They're like, "I don't care, sell it to me anyway," and I'm like, "No, I'm not,"
They would-
because you have
they would
a
really-
10-gallon.
Yep. Oh, I
They
got
would
fish
fight
bowls.
you. My store manager almost got into a fist fight with a lady because I refused her a fish because she doesn't have an appropriate tank, and she got all upset about it.
Oh, she has to speak to your manager.
That's when I stepped down to aquatic specialist. So, no, she essentially started screaming, and I don't yell back. So my manager heard the screaming and came over, and she started screaming back. And then, yeah, we had to call the cops
Wow.
because her daughter shoved her, my store manager. So we had to call the cops and get the cops involved. Yeah.
Oh my God.
When I
that
say
sounds like
I've said it in past streams, the daily burnout of a big box store
Mhm.
worker is real. Like, you go into your shift being like, all right, nope, today's gonna be a good day. I'm gonna make sure all these fish go to good homes. But then by the end of the day, that burnout,
yeah.
you're
Yeah.
so burned out. You're just like, oh my God.
Why? Yeah. Why
What-
do
I
I
don't
exist
have the
right now?
And
Oh, I'm
that's
sorry.
that's what I was saying to you the other night, EJ. I'm like, sometimes the employees come off a little harsh, but it's like what you deal with in a day there and the customers, it's kind of like it's hard sometimes to like go from a customer yelling at you for 20 minutes straight and then they leave finally and then someone's already like on top of you like, I need help right now. And it's like, I need 5 seconds real quick.
Oh yeah. The amount of times like I'd be talking to one customer in mid-sentence and another customer would come up and be like, "Excuse me, can you help me find some dog food?" I'm like, do you not see that I am currently like catching fish? They will come over. "Excuse me, I need help finding this brand of dog food." I'm like, my hands are literally in the tank. Do you not see me? Do you not see this family sitting next to me? Like, I am
It sounds-
currently doing something.
It sounds like you guys are just set up for failure.
It's
Yeah,
and
a lot
like
of it's understaffing. Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
don't want to say like all customers were a pain. There was plenty that were very nice and easy to work with, but then
Yes.
like I said, between prank calls constantly at my store, people
Yes.
screwing with all of our stuff. I mean, I caught people with fishing poles in my tanks.
Like
Oh, I haven't had
legit
that.
fishing
New-
poles?
I had someone bring in a 6 foot long fishing rod that they bought at the Dick's Sporting Goods next door. 4 of them, and
that was next.
threw them into my cichlid tank
Wow.
because
That's a new one for me. I haven't heard that.
I didn't have koi at the time in that tank like I was supposed to. So I put firemouth, convicts, pike cichlids, geophagus in that tank, large silver dollars and arowana, like decent sized fish. And I was cleaning one of the tanks of algae. I turn around on the ladder and there is the tank open with 4 people with the fishing poles in and a camera going.
Oh.
And I told them to stop. They said, why? I told them just not to do it. And then they're like, what, are you the manager? And I said, yeah, this department. No.
Wow. Oh,
And
okay.
they got mad until they saw the manager on duty was someone they went to school with. And they,
Were you
Correct.
in a
Knew their name.
small town in New Jersey?
the town the store was in was where my manager went to school. And he's like, I'm going to call his mom later.
Oh, good. Freshwater Ichthyology is here. Dr. Fresh, my pet name for her. And I guess it's morning in Europe for her. She said she had a customer's kid once grab a sturgeon out of a tank with his hands. The fish was never the same after, so obviously had neurological issues. Oh, my word.
I had people dump things in my tanks.
Yes, me too.
Um,
What
I've had
kind
people
of?
pick up. I've had a group of teenagers come in and grab like 3 or 4 betas and put them in the turtle tank.
Well, I didn't have turtles because New Jersey, they're illegal to sell.
Oh,
But
gotcha. Yeah.
I had dog food dumped in, like cans people dumped in.
I haven't had that.
I had someone dump a whole entire bag of Wendy's into the sump. Or no, not the sump.
Oh.
The live rock bucket. And I didn't know about it for probably a good week. Because I opened the lid and the whole store stunk. We had to leave the doors open.
I bet. Oh my God.
We had everything. I went on break one night and I came back after my break, which was like 30 minutes, and a whole system of fish was dead. It was fine when I went on break. When I came back, there was all 6 tanks of my glowfish were dead. So there was about 200-300 glowfish at once. And then the other system, it was connected, like the other tower it was connected to, that whole system was dead too. So someone must have dumped something. I did chemical tests. I tried everything. I couldn't come up with anything. So yeah, I lost 2 whole towers worth of fish in 30 minutes and there was no camera, so I have no proof that someone did something.
Tell the story about somebody stealing a betta fish.
All the time.
Yeah, empty cups on the shelf all the time.
Yeah, it was a trend for a little bit at Petco or on TikTok for like about a year and a half, 2 years ago, that someone would come in with a gas station like Polar Pop cup and you dump a beta in it and you just walk out with it.
Yep.
Oh jeez.
I was
it was a whole
telling
TikTok
EJ,
trend.
I had a
Or
grouper, an arowana go missing. All kinds of large, expensive fish.
Arowana, the large. Okay, if it's large, expensive fish, this is not a TikTok trend. This is
and this is way before
advantage.
TikTok. I mean, this is back when Vine was a thing, so this is way before TikTok.
Yeah. Oh, we got 3G
The
up
most
on here.
common way.
Go ahead. Sorry.
So the most common way that people would steal betas, if they didn't just walk out with them, was they would switch the lids, because the lids have the UPC code on them. They would take the lid for a female beta, which is only $2.99, and put it on whatever beta they wanted, so they would only pay $2.99.
Oh, they do that at clothing stores.
They would come up with their hands cupped around the cup and then take it to like the least experienced cashier, because they would do it all the time. They would come in like once a month and do this and wait till they see a new face, and they would go to that cashier who didn't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. We've got people. We've got people in the chat, guys, talking about some of this stuff too. I had no idea. Oh my gosh. Copper coin poisoning. Somebody punched their mom. Had a punch up. Oh, Craig, I'm sorry, dude. I don't speak Aussie. Punch up at her mom and dad's store. It's not a chain store, but his partner asked the lady not to put her perfumed hand in the seahorse tank, and then she grabbed BEL by the neck. Once snitched on somebody stealing koi carp and putting them in their inside pockets. Oops. Yeah. Oh, I can do that. Oh man, I just figured out how to do that. Cool.
I had a fun one working at an independent store. Was this group of people came in and tried to pull something over, and they only did it on the other employees. They wouldn't do it to me. And the only reason we all could think of is I don't know which language they were speaking, but when they met me, they had to ask what nationality I was.
Oh, so you're saying that they figured that you looked like, well, you do kind of look like I wouldn't mess with you at a bar.
No, but it was like more of the fact that like whatever language they were speaking. Yes. Yeah. Because they were communicating. And anytime they were there when I was there, nothing happened. The days I wasn't. Because so they didn't know if you could hear their plots or not. Because the person I lived with worked at the same store.
Yeah. Look,
so we communicated back and forth at home. Yeah.
Misfit said he had to confront a few people years ago trying to catch people with their hands in the Gatorade bottles. Didn't you told me the other night, Paul, that you were demonstrating how easy it is to steal a fish. You took a goldfish and put it in a water bottle and stuck it in your pocket for half the day.
Yep. And no one in my store noticed.
And nobody noticed.
Nope.
Okay, well, that's the bad side of that's the bad side. But what about the good side? Like, what is like? Is there a family or a person, and you feel like you walked away and you knew you got them started on the right track?
Mhm.
Oh yeah, yeah. It doesn't happen as often, which is unfortunate. But oh yeah, people that come in, they're like, "All right, I want a beta, and I already read that I need at least like a 5 or a 10 gallon, and I know that I need Mopani wood, and I know I need this, and I want to have plants." And I'm like, "This is gonna be good. Let's go."
I
Yes,
mean,
it does.
aquatic wise, not the only one I could think of was there was this guy who came into my store and he admitted to me, he's like, "This is my last try with this. After this, if it doesn't work, I am done." He went to 3 other stores in my district and decided to try this one. He said every fish I've bought has died. So I asked him what size tank. It was a 55 he bought. He showed me the kit online that he got. I told him add another filter, upgrade your heater, and then what kind of fish do you want? So we decided on doing just colorful fish. He said, I told him he should get a bigger tank, but he said, let's just see if this lives first. So I started him with some African cichlids, and I told him, start with like 3 to 4, cycle the tank with the fish in it. Once your ammonia levels after 4 to 6 weeks is done, you can add a few more. After 6 months later, he came back and everything was fine. And he was coming in constantly, and he did eventually get a bigger tank, but he was very happy about it. I think, though, most of the better customer stories I found were with the dog people, honestly.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's too bad. I'd love to be able to figure out a way because I've been keeping fish for less than a year. I did probably put about the same amount of research hours, maybe less, but quite a bit. We couldn't compare, but I understand the idea of researching and trying to educate yourself. And there's a lot of information out there. Like what I ended up having to do was, I would get this idea, like I want to keep, I want to keep blackworms. And so there's like 5 or 6 different ways on the internet. So I would buy the blackworms to propagate, and I would put them in like 3 or 4 different ways of doing it, and just to see which one worked the best. And that's how I started learning, was just like, okay, I read about it, but there's like 5 or 6 different ways to do it. So I'm going to just experiment with all of these ways and see which one actually works. And I recognize that sometimes it's also where you live as well. So there, sometimes what works for me with my water parameters is going to be different than say somebody else with a different climate. And so I kept it like that. But what I really would like to at some point is kind of figure out or brainstorm how we can pull people into the fish hobby without having to make all those mistakes.
And I think societies are the best way. You get a lot of people who have been doing it for years. I mean, North Jersey, I got lucky being the first club I joined, having so many very well-known and very long-time fish keepers.
Mm-hmm.
I've got very friendly with Dr. Paul Ezel, who a lot of people know him for his cichlids and work in Madagascar and stuff like that.
Is Madagascar lace really from Madagascar? It's a plant.
I think it is, but like he was doing more of the fish stuff, so like I kind of like talked to him more about that. But like I got to go to a lot of fun places with him. I mean, he was the former curator of the New York Aquarium, so I got a lot of fun stories from the New York Aquarium from him. But I got to like go to the Museum of Natural History in New York and go through the archives because he had to drop some stuff off. So volunteered to drive him into New York City.
Oh yeah, I'd do that too. I'd be like, I'm taking off work that day. I don't care.
And got to spend the day with the fish curator.
That's so cool. What about you, Gina?
Awesome.
What do you what do you think we could do to pull people in?
It's all about educating, because that's mainly what it is that people come in and they don't know anything. But they have an interest in it. So maybe starting in like high school, having elective of like animal husbandry, like have different sections like dog and cat, or like mammal, small mammal pocket pets, dog and cat, fish, like different sections of
Yeah.
that learning.
My high school
or
had
even
marine
as far
bio.
as- Do what?
My high school had marine bio actually as a elective.
Yeah, but more
Yeah.
of like animal, like pet husbandry, like learning how to take care of pets properly, just across the board.
Well, our marine bio teacher, we went out and I wasn't in that class, but they got to go to the ocean, collect fish, bring them back, had tanks going in the room of native fish that they had to keep alive for the duration of the year. And then our
Right.
anatomy teacher essentially had a zoo in her classroom. There was iguanas,
Right. Yes.
rabbits, tokay gecko, everything. So like in my high school, at least, we had a lot of that going on
You were
behind.
exposed to it, yeah, but you weren't taught. Like you couldn't focus on the husbandry. You were exposed to it a little bit, like a class dedicated to husbandry.
Yeah. I mean, the students,
Yeah.
as students, we were supposed to be in charge of doing all this. So our teacher walked through everything with the students. Like, you need to do this. This period's going to do this animal, like whatever it was. And even the rabbits, like part of the anatomy class was breeding. You had to.
Right.
Oh yeah, you got to breed as well.
I was cleaning tanks for a school district. They had a marine bio lab that part of the classwork was breeding fish. So they had guppies, they had sunshine peacock cichlids going, and the students had to do everything.
I was in high school. There was an experiment where we had to test whether the oxygen level was higher in cold water or hot water. And so I had to start with that premise of which was which and then find out. And I totally started with warm water has more oxygen. Sure. And I was shocked. Like my 15-year-old me was like, oh, there's more oxygen in cold water? I know. It's things you start with. But in my, I'm actually been trying to work with the local school district, the inner city school district here, and I've asked if we could, bring in aquascaping and fish keeping as an actual course itself, because there's just so much around it that is educational. Because the district recently introduced, one of the teachers was teaching model trains, and they taught it as a class, which my son got into and he absolutely loves. So with model trains, which is obviously a very high level hobby, there's trigonometry, there's carpentry, there's a bunch of electricity, there's a bunch of science and math involved. So they called it a STEM program. So when I saw that this was, being introduced, I've already made a suggestion. Hey, let's do fish keeping, ecology, let's bring that into. And so we just got funding actually for one of the middle schools to build a turtle and goldfish pond. And the middle schoolers are going to dig it. It's going to be pretty large. It's going to be about, I want to say about 9 by 20. So it's relatively long, and there's going to be, and the kids are going to dig it, and they're going to learn about filtration, and they're going to learn about the nitrogen cycle and what it means to upkeep. And I'm hoping that's going to be the start, and I'm working with all the science classes to do this. And so I'm hoping that's going to be the start of perhaps bringing in maybe a Diane Walstead bowl for their science classrooms, something low tech, small, easy to keep up. You can easily see the circle of life in that container. So plans. It's better in the inner city that kids learn how to do stuff like this. I think there's other people out there in the fish fan that's doing this. I've just been trying to work with my local people. I'm a parent, so it's easy. It's easy for me as a parent to get involved in the school that they're already attending, just right in a little way.
I mean, the other one too is like the expos and stuff are always great, because I've manned tables for the fish club at these things. A lot of people from the general public saw it on the news and was like, what is this? And would come to, like, I was doing tables at Aquatic Experience, and you know, people saw it on the local news and was like, what is this? And why are there a bunch of people with fish tanks in a room? And they
Right.
stopped by, and then they were like, wait, you're telling me there's actually clubs for this? And I would talk to people and like try to get them to sign up and like at least come to a meeting. But then like the problem is, once you're in a meeting, what do you do? Because if you just do the basic, we only do lectures and an auction, yeah, the auction's fun. You get fish that you're not going to get anywhere else, but the trips are really what I think get a lot of people staying into these things. Collecting trips, trips to aquariums. A lot of these clubs, like,
collecting trips.
yeah, I'm going on one next weekend.
Oh, that's a whole new level. I'll have to think about this.
Because I did like a Pine Barrens one in New Jersey, and like, because we had this proper permits, I was allowed to keep black banded sunfish, which, as most people know, they're not legal in the United States to own without proper documentation. And through the club, we had it. So I took home a few and put them in my pond. I was trying to get them to breed, but I think the pirate purchase were like predating on the fry.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah.
Um,
I hate to cut this short, guys, but we're running into Lucas. His
Uh-oh.
podcast should have started by now, and I think we're holding people captive here for like over 10 minutes. And I know that like I love this fish family. I'm very new. I'm still getting to know people, but I really want to be able to respect other people's time. And Lucas is actually he was my gateway drug. I didn't know it, like, you know, my a lot of my research was usually around the aquarium co-op. Nothing wrong with aquarium co-op, nothing wrong with KG Tropicals, but it was kind of like the vanilla and then, you know, and then I start getting into like the 50 Shades of Grey version through Lucas. and I'm going, oh, there's some, this looks interesting. I can relate to this.
Yeah, there's a pocket of people. It's like there's a pocket of people I can vibe with.
Yeah, there's a pocket of people that really love this, that like trying different things, that tend to go the more natural route when it comes to being able to keep your fish as organically happy as possible. And it was because I saw Lucas kind of make some sort of, I don't know, say hi on one of those, like the big box store aquarium. Nothing wrong with aquarium co-op, nothing wrong. Okay, but you know, like beginner vanilla, right? So now I'm down to, now I'm looking at this. It's great, but I've run on too long. We're running into Lucas. Gina, thank you so much. Paul, thank you so much.
No problem. It was fun.
Yeah. And, you know, we wish Father Fish the best. I'm actually on his account, so if you see me occasionally, and I'm terrible at keeping up with the chat in this, but thank you guys so much for tuning in. And we will, Father Fish will be back and settled on Sunday at 6 o'clock Central Time. Whatever, you'll see it on him. Sorry, he's in a different time zone than me. I always forget. I think it's 6 o'clock Eastern Time. It's 5 o'clock Central Time.
Yeah.
But either way, he'll be back on Sunday. We'll hear all about his adventures. But in the meantime, you guys have a great Friday night, and we'll see you at Lucas. So peace out, y'all. Bye.
Bye.
And